Hello, and welcome to your weekly Corner Kombucha Cleanse. I'm your host, Willow, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Yes, hello, this is Ciarán, Amigo, Shocknessy. Hola to all my amigos out there.
And we've just been taking in the energies of this week's debates and how Marianne Williamson has truly awakened the spiritual core of America. Mm-hmm. Not right-wing, not left-wing, but forward through spirituality is how the United States will take on Donald Trump. And we would just like to take a moment for you just to clear your thoughts, close your eyes, and imagine just all the wars and all the, sad children who don't have beds.
Visualize it.
Visualize it. And the U.S. military-industrial complex with their missiles of hate. Mm. But we will replace those missiles with missiles of love.
Missilo de amore.
And spirituality.
Yes. Spiritualismo.
And just the frequencies all around us continuously, that were especially on that stage on Friday and Thursday night, that we just have to remember that with all these frequencies continuously around us, that we need to tap into a higher frequency. Yes. That our consciousness has to reach a plane that Donald Trump and his words of hatred and separation and ripping apart the American soul with his black magic, that this higher plane of existence will be what can bring us together spiritually, mentally, physically, sexually.
I had from the debates that I watched on the Telemundo, I learned a lot from Señorita Williamson about what to do. We need to imagine the conflict in Yemen or La Yemeno as on a higher frequency, a frequency grande. Where all those school children cannot be touched. It reminds me of when my family came to this fine country from Irlande and started a wonderful business trading willing people in the fine land of Texas. El Texas.
So just remember that this battle that we face against Trump and that which Marianne Williamson will lead us is not just a battle of politics, but it is entirely a psychic battle. And your shield of virtue and your sword of truth will be the weapon that leads all of us Americans into a spiritual and physical victory against Donald Trump in 2020. Namaste.
Namaste. I naturally will be supporting Señorita Williamson for El Presidente of a Tato Unity Taco Bell. If my name is not Sean, Seamus, Tig, Aoife, Neve, Amigo, Shocknessy, O'Connell, McCormick, Walsh.
So yeah, hey, welcome to your weekly Corner Späti. If you have not gotten around to it yet, we will be talking about the Democratic debates. And sorry that it's not a Europe-centric episode this week.
Well, actually, that character I did for the first opening was based on Pedro Sanchez, current president of, of Spain.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Europe tied in. Done.
Woo! Spanish. Came from Europe.
Yeah, so this week is just Ciarán and myself, Nick, because the other two did not watch the debate, and they're busy and not here, or whatever the hell they're doing. It was definitely... I have no faith in the Democratic Party. None whatsoever. Where should we start in that absolute shit show? That was a 2-night extravaganza of mediocrity.
It's like Eurovision, except more pro-Israel this time. All right, so I guess let's talk about the format a little bit before going ham into it, because there might be people out here who don't know what the fuck this was, and that's fine. I was in Cologne, I was in Krefeld, which there is nothing in Krefeld except it does have its own magazine.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's weird. So I woke up and watched the debate at like 5 a.m. and because I hate myself. I watched the first debate because there was 2 debates. People might not know what was happening, so here's what was happening. There were 2 debates. They split up the candidates randomly. Yes.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah. They split up the candidates randomly. There was one on Thursday night and one on Friday night. And to be considered, you had to be consistently polling above 1% in more than, I believe, 3 polls, which I think is actually very little, but still. We'll get to who the fucking... the clown car they let in because of that. You also had to get, if I remember correctly, let me just get that again. The fundraising criteria is, yes, 65,000 unique donors, but also at least 200 unique donors per state in at least 20 states. Yeah.
Okay.
So of those 65,000... they had to be spread out across at least 20 states. Yeah.
And this year, because if we remember 3 years ago now, or 4 years ago, when the Republican debate started, they had just as big of a field, I think. They had like 18 people with their debates, and the way that they divided them up was kind of like you were doomed if you were in. So it was 2 debates on one night. Yeah. You had like the D League at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, at least like U.S. times, and
prime watching television hours.
Exactly, yeah. So and they actually complained about that too. So you had then it was like the lowest 6 people who were polling were in that debate, and then the real event was then 3 hours later. With the top 12 or 10, I can't remember. Right. And it ended up becoming really problematic because you could go from the D League to the big ballers based on polling. Mm-hmm. However, it was also then very hard for you to then get your message out there if no one's watching your thing. So there was like, Bobby Jindal was on that stage. I think actually Chris Christie was on it the first time around, and then actually then made it up to the, to the big league.
Yeah.
What's her name from Minnesota too was also on there the first time.
I've already had my brain erased. By
Michelle Bachmann.
All right. Yeah, TikTok has wiped my brain of everything that happened pre-2016.
It's too wholesome.
Yeah.
So that's why they did it this method with the 2 different dates in order, at least I would think, to avoid a situation like the Republican Party had, because that was a shit show, and a lot of people then were pointing to that as being that was maybe one of the ways that then got Trump into which is bullshit. That's actually that's just hard to make that case.
That's weird because I don't think I don't think people care too much about debates to a certain extent. So I think we've mentioned before on the show, but debates have this issue of if you go in watching a debate with a candidate in mind, people who watch debates, people who are political junkies, like ourselves to a certain extent.
No, only you are.
Only me. You go in with a candidate in mind, and probably your thoughts on these people already preformed.
Beto O'Rourke, baby.
Beto 2020. The logo is so simple. There's a O at the end of both of those. Beto and 2020 in the same character. I can visualize the logo in my head if it already doesn't exist. Anyway, so there's very little chance that a debate is actually going to change your mind. The only purpose that a debate possibly serves is like, well, first of all, the obvious one is it's fodder for the media to like just go ham with footage.
Oh yeah, did you see how long the entire event is if you watch it on YouTube for NBC?
3 hours or so, is it?
5 hours. Five fucking hours of coverage. I'm not going to sit there and watch the pre-game show.
Yeah.
And then like the post-game interviews.
Fucking
like horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. The US deserves Trump because of that type of, spectacle around it. And
should be able to summarize your platform in a TikTok video. I'm all about TikTok
exactly.
now.
I want to see Bernie hitting the whoa.
Yeah. When will Booker do the ooh meme? Yeah, so let's go into who was actually on each of these fucking nights. Night 1, Thursday, June 26th. We had, and this is an order of like who's
your 2020 Democratic presidential candidates. I don't know how to.
Yeah. Is that the Mortal Kombat theme?
No, it's I don't know.
No, it's not. Let's get ready for this. Yeah, Mortal Kombat theme. That'd be good. All right. In order of like average polling: Warren, Beto O'Rourke, Booker, Klobuchar, Castro, Gabbard, Ryan, Inslee, De Blasio, Delaney. And the answer to most of those is fucking who? Who are any of these people?
Yeah, no point of even giving you the first names because they're going to drop out.
I'm not going to learn to pronounce half of these correctly. Well, Ryan, yeah, sure. I'm sure he's also Mexican. So that was the first night, and the second night, we'll get into it later, I guess, but like the second night was Biden, Sanders, Buttigieg, Harris, Yang, Gillibrand, Hickenlooper, Williamson, Bennett, Swalwell. Yeah.
Again, he's going to drop out on Monday.
Yeah, right?
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you that then like half of these names, like, I think that's also the point of it too, is that there's no point of watching any of these debates this early because I think all in all, the average candidate, like average big name candidate, maybe got like 3 or 4 questions asked to them on both nights. So if you really wanted to see someone get dunked on by another person, there were a few moments, which we'll get to, that are just absolutely hilarious, I thought was one of them, especially with Joe Biden. Yeah. But nonetheless, it was very just kind of like trying to get their talking points out as fast as they possibly could. And, I think the actual debate itself was only actually an hour and a half.
Yeah, fair. So
everyone technically gets a little bit over than 10 minutes if it's divided up fairly then.
Equally, yeah. So I guess before we talk about some of the people of the first night that we actually want to talk about, let's quickly mention the other ones. And okay, Hot Take Factory. Here we go, Nick. These are the ones we don't really want to talk about extensively, so quickly.
We're not going to talk about them at all.
Yeah, basically. Castro.
No, I think Julian Castro actually, like, we could talk about a little bit. I think he did all right. I'm not like, I do not see him becoming the president, but he at least saved himself the, as being the only Latino person on stage.
Yeah.
Refrained from speaking Spanish, except for, like, that he said that he is Julian Castro.
Yeah.
Which was, like, a solid move that he wasn't trying to pander, which was cool. I think his points were very just straightforward. Like, this is the thing, too, is that I think the thing I really liked about all this is that it really showed how far Bernie had moved this discussion to the left, at least.
The first debate definitely did that,
yeah. And now, if they're actually going to go through with it, is questionable, and that's why I still am, iffy, and why no one has convinced me to change my mind about who I'm going to vote for on that, because Bernie's the only one who's actually come forth and said, I'm, sticking to this. Yeah. But Julian Castro, he had some good talking points, but then again, I can't actually remember a single one off the top of my head.
Fair enough.
So, but all in all, like, he came off professionally, if that's what people are looking for, so...
Timothy John Ryan.
Tim Ryan, just a very old school liberal war hawk that we kind of don't like really see anymore. Gotten a tussle with Tulsi Gabbard because he wanted to bomb Iran. Like that is the only thing he's memorable for. That was a weird exchange. That was like, because I'll get to that when we talk about Tulsi Gabbard because she's a mess.
Yeah. So another one of the ones that we're not really going to talk about, Jay Inslee.
Don't know. Don't care.
Yep.
I don't remember it. I don't even remember what he fucking looks like.
You ever watch like a cartoon or a show from the 90s where they had to have like a stand-in president, like so the show didn't become dated? They were just like old man with gray hair.
I still don't remember him being on that stage.
That's fair. Bill de Blasio.
Yeah. What can you say about Bill de Blasio except for one, he's not going to be president. Two, like all the hatred from everyone in New York towards him should be enough proof to you that this man could not be president.
Yeah.
And
everyone in New York hates you because you were mayor of New York and ran it terribly. Everyone outside of New York hates you because you were the mayor of New York and they hate New York.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't trust Bill de Blasio because of something even dumber. That Bill de Blasio is the mayor of New York and is a Boston Red Sox fan, which you don't. That's not a thing.
Why can't the teams in my city be more racist?
What? No, it's
like Boston.
All right. Well, yeah. For Europeans who do not know, the Yankees and the Red Sox have the biggest rivalry in baseball.
I see.
So it's kind of like a thing that I don't know what like dark magic he had to pull in order to become the mayor of there, because it's like, like you're a Mets fan, you're a Yankees fan, that's fine, but like come on, like that's not. And he's from New York too, which is even fucking weirder.
Yeah, it's definitely like a weird. Do you not feel like there was like an army of like lanyard nerds and like interns talking to you, being like, you're a Mets fan now.
Yeah. It's like just
you're mayor of New York.
Because I can just imagine like how many fucking people are just like in New York being like, Bill de Blasio don't know any of the fucking policies, but fucking Sox fan, fuck him. And they also probably are Italian Americans who vote Republican anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. So okay, and then the last one is what's his name?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make a quick aside. John Delaney was the last one, and he really looks like that guy from King of the Hill, the neighbor who was always in the white beater. I think it's Bob was the name. King of the Hill. No, Bobby is. Oh no. I'm getting my King of the Hill knowledge questioned here. The neighbor who was always like, the whole joke of that neighbor was he was just dumb as shit. Yeah, he really looks like him, and it's funny. He was nothing. He was barely there.
The only thing I remember about him is that he was getting like way too excited speaking, so it made it look even more comical.
Well, yeah, this is the guy who wasn't the lowest in the rung. He's managed to consistently poll 1%, which, keep in mind, in a decently run poll, that could be a statistical error.
Yeah. I don't know what state he's from. I frankly don't care. I'm not going to look at anything else about...
Actually, doesn't say.
See?
Oh, Maryland. But yeah, he's polled 1% in 5 polls, which is the lowest out of anyone this night.
Yeah, and I think that we're being fair to all these people by not talking about half of them.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to see them or hear of them.
Podcast will be 3 hours long.
Yeah. I'm not going to do the whole we're not going to do the whole pod safe thing about John Delaney though really could come up because of this like one sentence that he said that could really convince voters. No, fuck it.
When John Delaney started talking about propane related paraphernalia.
Hey, he got my vote.
Yeah.
So those 5, aside from Tim Ryan's tussle with Tulsi Gabbard, are completely worthless.
Yeah.
And Bill de Blasio just kept being like, look at such a great job I'm doing in New York City. And it's like, do you not see, like... It's like the fucking dog whose house is on fire meme. It's like, this is fine.
Well, it's always like when you look at New York from far away, it seems fine.
Yeah. And I guess if you're comparing anything to Michael Bloomberg,
yes,
that is also like, Bill de Blasio is much better than him, I guess, but that's not saying anything.
Because there is like, I think there's people who said this before. There's like 2 New Yorks, but I think to be fair, there's like 5-6 different New Yorks.
There are the 5 boroughs.
There we go. But like, there is that side of New York that you only see on like in photos of swanky coffee table magazines at like a dentist that you would never purchase yourself. Like, yeah, that like New York from a distance looks great and it's profitable.
Or like that big poster that like suburban white moms have like in their kitchens.
The like done in like not Art Nouveau, but like what was the 50s?
Just like a black and white photo or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. New York has like a very good image, but a shit ton of problems due to Bill de Blasio and how insanely crooked he is. Anyway, people we actually want to talk about, and I think first we should talk about, because he came out the gate fucking swinging, Beto
O'Rourke. He convinced me. Yeah. I thought that was the greatest exchange in like recent debate history.
You should probably
excluding Donald Trump moments.
Yeah.
That was so. Beto O'Rourke gets a question. His very first question was about.
It was about the high tax rate.
70% tax rate for top earners or whatever that whole discussion is. Mm-hmm. And just answers, yo soy Beto O'Rourke, nosotros una economía.
Donde
está la biblioteca? Yeah, it was the coolest answer. And he did the coolest tactic of speaking Spanish to avoid answering the question. And then they kept asking, like, are you in favor of this? And then he just responded in English and in Spanish again. Yeah. The same thing practically. It's like, I'm for an economy for everyone that then works and that we all work together. Yeah. Yo soy Beto O'Rourke.
I think he said he'd be happy at like 28 or 48%.
Which is like a 2% increase.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, it's disgusting. That like happened. Like I said, okay, so
true. He finally actually did answer the question, which is like a completely just nonsensically like low number.
They actually he actually pushed him to the point of where he basically stated he's just a fucking ridiculously corporate dem. So I can't stress how early on in the debate this was. So like
first 5 minutes.
Yeah, like so Warren got a question, then Beto, because they went in order of like who's the highest in this round. So the Warren first, then Beto, and he just goes on this fucking screed in Spanish. And I don't know for certain if any of the moderators actually speak Spanish.
Yeah, one of them does.
Okay.
That's why then later on then too, because Beto did this flex. And then the moderator asked Beto a question in Spanish, and then Beto just kind of did the thing that just like nodding. And I don't know if he actually understood the question or not, because he didn't actually give a response.
Interesting. I get the impression from people who speak Spanish that he is like, what is it, like C2 or something? Like he is pretty fucking competent, but he is in no way close to like fluent. He definitely wouldn't pass as like a native speaker.
Oh, yeah, B2 or whatever.
Yeah, like he's not bilingual, but like throw him in the middle of like Latin America with like a knife, he'll be fine. Well, he might die for other reasons, but you know what I'm saying. That was just fucking ridiculous. How else do we think he did for the rest of the debate?
Horrible. Beto O'Rourke did the worst.
Yeah.
I would argue Beto O'Rourke should just drop out, because the continuous... One, he never actually did answer a question, and just continuously stumbling over himself in order to pander to, Latinx voters was just disgusting. It got, and Cory Booker tried the same thing, and it's just funny. There's like that meme kind of going around, if you've seen it, of just like Cory Booker's reaction when Beto starts doing it, because he's like, shit, he stole my thing that I wanted to do,
right.
And the Democrats do have a much bigger problem of this than I would say the Republicans do, just of recent years, of
appealing to Latinx voters.
Well, no, but just using identity instead of then actually using platform and policy in general. Because then the entire discussion that then came around that was like, which Bernie got grilled on about that later on, and we'll get to that, but was the idea then about voting in the first blank president, which is like fine and cool if that happens to happen, but I want, for me personally, like, I needs to be someone that then also has the policies behind that. And I guess that can then lead us on to our next person, who actually is someone who fits those categories, who is probably, I would say, the best person on the stage that night, which was Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, so for anyone who watched that, that was basically the Elizabeth Warren show, that debate. So for me, a huge problem about how they sorted this like whole where everyone went, which debate night happened, is that like, so Beto O'Rourke was the second highest consistently polling person in that first round. He's gotten like 10.3% out of 23 polls, and 23 is like the most polls anyone's been in because, yeah, he was like one of the earliest contenders. He announced pretty early, whatever. But to put that into perspective,
I guess you can do that when you have spare time on your hands from losing an election against Ted Cruz.
Yeah, and he had a lot of momentum after, like directly after the midterms, to actually like launch and say, "Hey, I'm doing this," and now that's fizzled out because that was ages ago, or will be ages ago once it actually matters. But to put that into context, the top 4 people in the second night are all above him, even though he's like the second. Warren is like the third highest of all the people consistently polling. So naturally, like, she's ahead by 6 points of Beto. So yeah, she was going to wipe the floor with everyone else in that fucking thing because she is having a moment now. She is a competent politician. She's, out of all those people, I think she's had like way more impact on society, except maybe Bill de Blasio, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the thing I think that's interesting too but Elizabeth Warren, I would say indirectly, again, like I said before about how Bernie has changed the discussion so much.
Yeah.
She even admits it. Yeah. When they asked her about Medicare for all, and they're all like, trying to, doing the gotcha thing of like, you're voting with Bernie, this and that and that. And she's like, yeah, I am. And I think that like, at least for me, that kind of showed that then like, Bernie's still the better candidate.
Yeah.
Bernie is the one who's responsible for this, given a lot of critiques that we can get about Bernie, when we talk about him. But nonetheless, the discussion's been pushed further because of him. Everyone's trying to, catch up to him. And they're having this moment because the Democratic Party does not want him as the nomination. Yeah. Even to the point that then I would probably say that if and when he does get the nomination, you're going to see these bizarre independent candidates try to then come up and run against him.
Yeah.
Like you tried to see with the Republicans, find a candidate to run against Trump. Like I think like David French was going to run against him. So who's a conservative commentator, for if you guys don't know.
Yeah.
So I do legitimately see that as the ultimate goal here, is that, yes, Elizabeth Warren did the best. Elizabeth Warren had the best policy put forward. She has admitted to that, she's not admitted, that's the wrong way. She has gotten behind Medicare for all, which is the only option for the United States. Don't give me this, nonsense about how you can have a private-public partnership of insurance, because the U.S., like, yes, it is true. Some countries like Germany have a system like this.
Yeah.
That would but the main problem in the U.S. is still how much power the insurance companies have. So if you have a system like that put into place there, it's still going to be steered by market forces. Or here in Germany, it's steered by non-market forces, actually, for the most part. So, just to get that clarification out of the way, free college for all, forgiving, debt forgiveness of student loans.
She's in favor of more like restructuring debt, or all
which is
that.
at least it's like partial debt forgiveness and then restructuring then the rest of your loans, because college student loans are the only thing that you can't restructure in the United States,
right? Which
is a bill that a lot of these people actually signed on to make sure that happens. So yeah, it is what it is. She did the best, but she's still playing catch up. And that's the way that I just continuously saw it.
Yeah. So for me, my opinion on Warren is, if she gets the nomination, I won't be upset.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
she will not win against Trump, though. That is the thing, though, is that she cannot deal with Trump's just erratic methods of how, like, first off, Trump has already destroyed her on multiple occasions because of her stupid Native American thing.
Yeah.
Which is her fault. She should have dropped that years ago, but then kept going on with it. And she is polling well amongst Democrats It's fine, but when you look at then her polls in comparison to Trump, she barely beats him in.
So I'm not gonna talk about like how these people would fare against Trump. I think only a few of them would actually handle it well, and I probably agree with you. But basically, I'm not going to be like. When people in the US talk about, you need to get in line once the Democratic candidate's been put in place, which I think is kind of bullshit to a certain extent, but she is only like one of the only candidates that I wouldn't be entirely happy with, but I would happily get in line with. Probably actually the only one other than Sanders, which I would support. Yeah. My take on Warren is that she has this like fundamental flaw of like, when she has all these really well thought out policies, which is great, and how to implement them, which is also great. But the thing is that I don't think she understands, or a lot of people who support her don't understand, is that she doesn't really seem to have a concept of, because she's not a politician, she's a technocrat. She doesn't have this concept of like an opening position in like in a negotiation. Because like when she opens with, we're going to forgive some debt, we're going to restructure, we're going to like this kind of like very wonked out thing that isn't just forgive all student debt. Like, what happens to that when it goes through the ringer of Congress, the Republican Party, every other thing trying to like push her back? Yeah. Whereas if you get like Sanders' position of forgive all student debt, when it goes through that fucking horrifying machine, it'll probably just end up being Warren's policy.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing, is that you had that is the exact problem that then happened with Barack Obama, of that you had a Democrat-controlled every level of the executive branch of government and legislative. What the Supreme Court even controlled by Democrats as well?
I think it was. Yeah,
I think everything. Yeah, at the federal level,
first 2 years.
For the first 2 years, and with the healthcare policy, what did they want to plan? They wanted to pass a watered down Heritage Foundation plan. Yeah. And then when you bring that up to people who are adamant supporters of Obamacare, they'll just give you this like, oh, it wasn't exactly that plan. It's like, well, no, of course it wasn't, but it was a conservative plan from the 90s when conservatives were still open to a public option and stuff like that. Yeah. Now that's completely off the table. So why would you have just not done everything in your power to pass the most radical healthcare policy that you could have, instead of then, which would have actually worked, and would not have, because it's still like the problem that Obamacare has is it's still dependent on market forces, and that have pummeled that program into the ground. That like friends of mine in the U.S. who they're like on the market to get insurance, and they're like the lowest option that I found was $400 a month. Oof. I'm like, that is fucking insane. Yeah, that's like in no way did it become more affordable.
That's rent in some parts of the States.
Yeah. And your employer will cover it if you're above, what is it? It's either 29 or 39 hours. And so what then you saw that happened after Obamacare is that a lot of employers started then doing weekly hours at the 1 hour
below 28 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was easy loopholes around that. Then everyone could be like, oh, sorry, hey, we can't cover you, so but you can go on the market. Oh, hey, your insurance is now $400 a fucking month. Well, shit, we can't do anything about that for you. Yeah. And then I think that they've I don't know, it's an absolute mess. I have not met a single person who actually then in the years after it's been passed, who then actually then been like, I really like Obamacare. It's like, Obamacare gave me insurance, but it's still expensive. It still follows within the things of like deductibles and the weird payment situations that you have in the U.S., which doesn't exist in a system, in a truly universal healthcare system. Like, Germany's maybe a private public mishmash of things, but I go to the doctor, I don't pay anything. I get surgery on basic things, I don't fucking pay anything. Yeah. If I need medication, it's significantly lower than what it is in the United States. Typically, most medication, depending on, unless it's like cancer medication, is entirely covered by your insurance provider. Prices are rising in Germany. That is a problem. German system is not perfect. The NHS used to be like one of the best examples for this until then austerity. There are like these systems aren't bulletproof, and we're seeing that then how even in Europe they're being slowly hacked away at by neoliberalism and austerity. But the answer in the United States isn't that. Yeah. So preserve your healthcare systems if you have them, and the U.S. needs a better one.
My last little thing on Warren is, for me, the ideal outcome would be Warren still does effectively what she's been doing for the last X amount of years, but under a Sanders presidency. I think she would actually get a lot of what she wants to get done.
Yeah.
Because ultimately she is a technocrat. I think where she falls down is like things like leadership and being a bit bulldogish. Like you said, you don't have much confidence in her.
None.
Against
Even when
Trump,
there's a really good interview, really good, but I mean really bad interview, but it's a good example of this with Elizabeth Warren, is that she was confronted by the Breakfast Club. If no one knows who that is, they're a
ragtag group of teens.
Exactly. Yes. They're all in detention.
There's the the jocks.
Yeah. The Breakfast Club is I don't know, maybe in that one, or maybe in the Hot 97.9 thing or whatever. But it's a
it's morning radio. Is
morning radio hip hop.
Okay.
And I think it's the one with Charlemagne the God, who, if no one knows, Charlemagne has been relatively pro Bernie Sanders, very openly so. Is a very annoying character, but nonetheless will grill politicians about this stuff. If no one remembers, it's the same people who interviewed Hillary Clinton and her answer about if she had that like something with like race relations and stuff like that, was that she had hot sauce in her bag. And they thought it was the corniest shit ever, and it is the corniest shit ever. Yeah, so Elizabeth Warren went on to like this show, and they like grilled her about being a Republican for majority of her political career. Not political, but being registered as a Republican when she was teaching at Harvard and stuff like that. Like as a law professor too. And she just tried to pull this whole thing of like, I wasn't aware. I wasn't political. I wasn't this. I wasn't that. It's like, fuck off. Like you're teaching at a university, one of the top universities in the country. Like you were political. So it's like she has problems like that. She cannot answer. She can't admit that then like that she fucked up or whatever. And the what's it called? The race science thing is gonna fuck with her if she
keeps getting called Pocahontas by
yeah. And the fucking Trump fans love that shit.
Yeah.
And they don't like Elizabeth Warren. So like
so that's our thoughts on Warren, and we spent a lot of time on her, but like I said earlier, this was basically the first debate was the Warren show. She performed quite well. I'm willing to be proven wrong about all this stuff. She could like cop on to a certain extent and like be able to fight this shit. Like I said, I would not be very disappointed if she ends up being the nomination, unlike almost everyone else in this lineup. Yeah. But let's go on to the one of the others we haven't talked about, Cory Booker. So I think we mentioned him briefly in his whole like he also spoke Spanish.
Yeah, God, that was embarrassing.
Donde está la biblioteca?
Yeah. Cory Booker, the only thing that then I thought that was impressive was him that he was the one who brought up like trans rights. Interesting that he was the one who brought it up, but still like good that the discussion's actually like happening, because in 2016 it was not.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to really take out of him. He's not going to become president. He doesn't have a chance.
No, he's polling at like 4%.
Yeah, and he did not do well, all in all, except for that. Yeah,
fair enough. So we talked about Booker, Beto, Warren, and the only two people we have left that we want to really kind of nod at is Klobuchar and Gabbard. Who wanted to?
Klobuchar just was like I don't know. She kind of just like reminded me of like that like suburban kind of.
She has the speak to the manager haircut.
She does have the speak to manager haircut, and she has like that pretend nice Midwestern sort of thing. But I mean, obviously we know what the stuff about her, like, throwing binders at her, interns and stuff like that, that she is, she's a crazy bitch.
She's aggressive.
And that should, and I don't mean that in the sense that it's, I mean that strictly in the sense of the Buck Cherry song, that should be her anthem.
Yeah, so like,
and she probably gets down to that song. Like we know that, to
a certain extent, I would really like to just see her go. Based on the stories I've heard of her, I would like her to do that to
Yeah,
like Trump on the debate stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before someone tries to fucking cancel me for calling her a crazy bitch, I meant it of the song.
Yeah,
gosh,
not the horrible entourage. Like,
yeah, no.
Aren't you and Stacey still dating? Yo, man, she was crazy.
Yeah, no, not that way. Like in the sense that she has this very weird Midwestern vibe. She
was a member of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
Yeah.
What? Oh, it's an affiliate of the Democratic Party. Okay.
Yeah. No. It's not anything cool. But yeah,
It sounds like it could be radical, though, right? Like, based on that title alone. Go on.
Yeah, no. Yeah, she just kind of scared me.
Yep.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
Like, the way that she talked reminded me of someone I think who, like, worked at my high school, who was, like, always very, like, pretend nice, but then was just, like, absolutely ruthless. And that's it. That's the only thing that could remind me. And she is that way. Like, we know from how she works. However, not going to be president. Horrible public speaker.
Yeah.
The most boring person on that stage by far was her. And obviously John Delaney, because I can't... Well, actually, no, he was more interesting because he looked comical, but...
Yeah, he looks like a clown. He's adorable. I want him to be like... Do you ever have like an uncle or like a friend of your father who just never got innuendo? And he would just like smile through everything.
Yes.
That's John Delaney.
So yeah.
And then the last one is Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, she is a mixed bag of everything because she's loved by neoconservatives, or just conservatives in general. She has a very weird backstory because if the first thing that she did when she comes out and talks is that like I served and this every single answer started with that. It got so annoying. First off, I found out too there was like some weird video of her like working out before the debates. Holy shit, she's like ripped.
Yeah.
Like she could defeat anyone in her path physically.
Yeah, if it was a physical fight at the end of this, remember that like weird Hillary Clinton versus Trump standing debate thing that they did? Yeah, if that was just like a small blood arena, I would either put money on Gabbard because she's swole. Unlike Swole Wall, she is a swole wall. And then Klobuchar because, especially if they're allowed to pick weapons and she picked
Oh, God, yeah. She'd pick like a mace or something and then just...
What are those like really heavy-ass things? A hole puncher. Those things that punch holes in, like, but they always weigh like 50 tons and they're solid
and she'd
metal.
throw that at Trump and knock him in the head. Yeah, cool, true. That was... So Tulsi Gabbard, obviously, as she mentioned 1,000 times over, she served.
Yep.
But a lot of her positions are very conservative. She also has been she actually had to apologize on stage, which I found it very weird that that's when she decided to apologize and not beforehand about her homophobic statements that she has made before.
Yeah. I wonder if it's elsewhere, but just didn't get any notice.
Yeah, but she kind of used...
She's polling at 1.3%.
Yeah. She came off really good because she had that tussle with Tim Ryan. That's his name, right?
Yeah. Timothy Ryan, yeah.
About how he just wanted to, firebomb Iran. And her thing has been that she doesn't want the U.S. involved in any more conflicts. That being said, she's not actually anti-imperialist. She is kind of just, isolationist, if that makes any difference.
Yeah, so there is, that weird kind of...
She really likes Russia and really likes Bashar al-Assad. I have to emphasize that a lot. She met Bashar al-Assad in 2014, I believe it was.
So I guess it's kind of...
Which is fine, but,
Yeah. It's that kind of it's that Republican anti-war.
Exactly.
Yeah, where it's because we love the troops so much, we don't want to put them on the ground. Which, to be fair, is why also a lot of people on the left are opposed to war.
Yeah.
But, it's not necessarily that there's, any kind of... There doesn't seem to be any kind of sympathy for the people on the other sides, like the Iraqis. And then at the same time, it's just, a belief that we could probably get American imperial interests done via diplomacy and economics.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, you probably could.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I think is so interesting with her is that she has this interesting facade of coming off as one thing. And to be fair, she is the candidate most liked by conservatives.
Yeah.
Which is, she also has met, and shown a lot of support to Modi, the president of India.
Yeah.
So she's also not consistent in like
Prime Minister, but sorry.
Yeah, Prime Minister, sorry, yeah.
We'll get added.
Whatever, I don't give a shit. So yeah, even in that sense, she comes off of just like kind of like will underwrite right-wing leaders in other countries. Just an absolute mess. Again, I used to think earlier, I think a lot of people used to think earlier too, that she was anti-imperialist because of this very bizarre, weird way of going about it. She's also extremely pro-Israel.
Yeah, she got one of the weird facts about her, but not really about her, is that before the Gravel Teens happened, Mike Gravel, this was like his candidate of choice.
Yeah.
This is who he supported, which is interesting. It was kind of like he had a position of like he supported Sanders and Warren, but on foreign policy supported Gabbard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think we talked about this off mic. Foreign policy is this like huge gap in the entirety of the Democratic, like on all of these people.
Oh yeah,
including the people we support.
Yeah, they're all horrible at this, and it kind of like at the end of both of these nights, I just kind of like came to the conclusion that there are only two genders, and they are Russia and China.
Yeah.
you like that for some reason was always like who's the biggest threat to the United States, and you either get the really dumb guy answer of Donald Trump,
Yeah,
or Russia or China, and then climate change.
Warren said climate change.
Which I would
and there were
say
some there were just some dumb chud takes of what language do they speak in climate change.
Yeah,
I can't remember who made that one, but get fucked.
But everyone is still like all these people are fucking insane at the end of the day when it comes to like that question, especially on foreign policy. It always comes in the sense of actually Andrew Yang had the best take about that, which was the weirdest thing.
We will get to that.
Yeah, but it always came down to the sense about how the United States has to remain, the military superpower. NATO has to stay stronger than ever, which isn't actually anything different than what Trump says. And people think that then Trump appeases Russia and that he appeases, dictators and whatnot. The fact that then actually Trump is speaking to North Korea is actually a good thing. I don't know why that then had to be like drilled down that like Trump is speaking to a dictator. Americans would never do that. Yeah. It's like, yeah, fuck. Like, what about all of South America? Like,
I'm a little because I've heard the like track record of Trump in regards to like his interaction with Russia, and it's just like, yeah, the American machine is still just being like very aggressive towards Russia. Like, Trump
there's sanctions on Russia.
Yeah,
that
they armed. I think the biggest one is they armed a bunch of Ukrainian militias. Yeah, under Trump.
Also neo-Nazi groups.
Ukrainian militia is just the modern term for neo-Nazi group.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, all of them were horrible about that.
Yeah.
When it came to them foreign policy questions, it just was like different flavors of the continuous imperialism. Even
the Washington Consensus.
Yeah, exactly. Even Tulsi Gabbard still just gave you a slightly different flavor of it. Like you were saying, that then it would probably be of the U.S. flexing its international influence, but through, because she even said like, I want to preserve NATO and this and that and that. So she isn't like,
There's a little bit of like what Trump said pre-election in terms of foreign policy.
Yeah, exactly.
There, like, we need to, like, Iraq was a mistake and we need to pull out. Yeah. And that leads us to the second night, Friday, June 27th,
2019.
Yes,
the kings and queens of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, this is the night that was packed with like.
It was worse.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was horrible.
I did not watch this one.
You just watched the clips.
I watched TikTok, which is presidential primary. Which, as someone who lives in Europe, that probably has more influence of the culture. Okay, so yeah, just to kind of give it influence of just like the disparity here is, okay, Biden 37%, Sanders 26%, Buttigieg 13%, Harris 11%. Next on the list, Yang 1.7%. And it's all downhill from there. Oh, God. So let's go through quickly the people we do not really intend on talking about. And the first one, I guess, is Yang. You said Yang had a particularly interesting foreign policy point.
Oh, yeah. He was the only one who actually, like, on stage had said that that the U.S. should be working with China, which is true. That is, especially for conquering, the current threat of climate change, and I mean, not going to war with something incredibly fucking stupid.
We must defend these tiny rocks in the South China Sea.
Yeah, I mean, China is because everyone looks at China as being like the number one polluter in the world. However, it's just they pollute so much because they produce shit for the West.
Yeah.
The steps that China has taken in terms of he mentioned AI, but the steps that they've taken, especially in green technologies, is significantly more than any Western country has done, given completely out of necessity. They're very weird socialism with Chinese characteristics. Yeah, it's actually pretty good at doing these massive scale projects.
Yeah, it's always weird when you see I remember, I think it was Turning Point USA always had these memes where they were like, look at this Chinese train station that was built in 2 weeks. Everyone's like, so you're in favor of communism with Chinese characteristics? What's going on here? You're a Maoist now?
Yeah.
You're at least Dengist? What's going on?
Nonetheless, that was smart of Andrew Yang. Everything else, I don't know what he didn't even talk about UBI. I was very upset about that. I wanted to hear his bird-brained idea about UBI.
Interesting, yeah, because that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is, it's one of those. Okay, so I think I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but UBI is one of those things that I kind of support, where it's I just really distrust when it's a Silicon Valley person saying it. Yeah. When it's one of those things when someone on the left says open borders, hear them out. When someone from Silicon Valley says open borders, Jesus Christ, run for the hills. UBI is kind of something very similar.
Oh yeah, its execution with someone like Yang would be fucking. It'd be if Mark Zuckerberg got his view of UBI, which is just to keep a reserve labor force.
And then there's also the fact that I think Yang is also in favor of this. I'm not sure if he's actually specified, but basically removing every other social benefit in favor of UBI, which the only one that I can see a rationale for is removing unemployment. Because that's kind of the point of UBI is essentially that everyone gets a form of unemployment. But everything else, I've seen people argue that you should get rid of disability payments. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I always have that weird kind of conflict of whenever people bring up the thing about okay, if the U.S. introduces this, you got to get rid of something else.
Well, yeah,
you can't have these two things coexist with one another because there's just not enough money, even though the U.S. can literally make money with the snap of their fingers.
Well, that's the issue with the framing of UBI, usually from Silicon Valley weirdos like Yang, is that they will say the benefit or how it appeals to conservatives is you're streamlining the social security net. Which is true. Getting one payment would be better than going through all the fucking means testing bullshit that you now have to go through to get social security payments. The thing is, it's that view of that's where the money comes from, because there's another place the money can come from that you specifically would not like to talk about.
Yeah.
And so you're either your income, if you're a Bezos level Silicon Valley guy, or he's Seattle, but whatever the fuck, or your tax dodging companies.
Yeah, and I think but this also kind of goes down to the fact that the left in the U.S. particularly fetishizes taxing way too much.
Yeah,
they need to they need to drop that whole thing about that. And I think it's good that then finally candidates have started only focusing on taxing mega wealthy people, because that's actually how you redistribute wealth. Taxation itself is just to fund programs, but if you want to have a redistributive taxing, then that's a different discussion. But still, taxation alone is not going to change your relationship to the workplace.
Yeah,
so there has to be you cannot only have hope in this. And I think that the discussion is moving, at least within left groups, that this cannot be your only hope.
Yeah.
And I think in Europe it's actually been better with the discussions of the Green New Deal, because that's not done through taxation at all.
Yeah, there's the
bonds.
Modern monetary theory is way more popular this side of the Atlantic than the US.
Yeah. And it's catching on, and AOC is a fan of MMT.
Yeah.
So, like, that is a legitimate future for a country that's as wealthy as the United States, that has its own central bank and shit like that.
Yep.
And I think candidates can actually start then, especially like debt cancellation, like what Sanders is talking about, that you cannot have that within a framework that is not something similar to that. You know, what are you like going to tax people more? I mean, okay, yeah, if you get, tax increases for extremely wealthy people, that's a different story. Like the amount of revenue that then is not revenue, the amount of just like, money that then is pumped back into the U.S. economy that way, into the, U.S. social services and stuff like that is great and cool. But it also has to be made like within like the legal format, and then like maintaining that these people cannot fucking get out of it either.
Yeah.
Like, which is whatever, whole different topic.
Next.
Yeah, but otherwise, aside from that, Andrew Yang was just worth forgetting.
Yeah.
And like you said, he was at 1.3%. Like,
No.
he's going to drop out.
He's 1.7. But
1.7,
yes.
okay.
But like again, like in all of these kind of polls, this is an aggregate of polls, which is better. But usually these polls are with like 1,000 survey people, which means there is like a 3% margin of error.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything below 3% is suspect. Next on our list of people we're not going to talk about for a great length of time, Gillibrand or Gillibrand. I don't know.
I think it's Gillibrand.
Oh, interesting.
I don't care. Yeah, it was, I guess, suspected that. What's she polling at, by the way?
1.3.
Okay, good. Because it was expected that then this was going to be her moment to, like, to jump out and really stand as, being one of the contenders. And she had that problem that we're going to get to more when we talk about Bernie, that this comes down to an issue of identity.
Right.
Because her closing statement was about, like, how I'm going to be the first woman president. And it's like, that didn't work in 2016.
Yeah.
Please do not. If that's what you're going to go against Trump with in 2020, you've already lost.
Yeah.
Because that's not, like, the thing about Trump that then was so enticing to people is, one, his personality, and two, that although no one ever wants to admit this, Trump did address, like, things that were similar within, not directly like wealth inequality and stuff like that, but it was clear that then like Trump noticed that there was something wrong, in quotes, in the United States, and his, remedy for it was horrible.
Yeah. He had, like, people forget, but he had policy positions that he vocalized quite clearly.
Yeah. Now, if those policy positions have been applied, is very weird, because now there's this cult of personality around him that I think is bigger than the actual thing of what he's doing.
Yeah.
And,
but like the Muslim ban was a policy position that they genuinely tried. Build the wall is a policy position that he's kind of trying. Like, yeah, whatever the fuck's going on with that. Drain the swamp was also a policy position, although incredibly vague and definitely not implemented.
Yeah, and I think that she's just dated in her arguments. She's trying to channel that whole like Hillary Clinton energy. We don't need that.
Yeah.
She's she's forgetful with anything else that she said aside from her closing statement to me, in my opinion. It wasn't anything that she said anything bad, or that she said anything that then like wasn't progressive or whatever. It just was like, I kind of came out of this being like, I know she's polling bad.
Yeah.
She's not going to pop up magically to 12%. She's probably not going to drop out.
Yeah.
But I don't need to like make more of like, as for a lot of these people, I don't need to like focus more on it than I actually have to.
Yeah.
Because nothing really jumped out to me that was, out of the ordinary with what I was expecting from her.
Next, at 1.3%, Hickenlooper.
King. John Hickenlooper is a fucking king. I think that he takes the cake for being just the most, like, clueless dumb guy who is running. And it's not because he does anything stupid, but his whole entire shtick is to be against Bernie Sanders. And he continuously says that, Colorado did this without socialism. Colorado did this without socialism. We need just a better Democratic Party, not socialism. If we try to beat, that was actually his closing statement. Like, if we try to beat Trump with socialism, we're going to lose. And the funny thing is that, which you mentioned, that the tickets for this event were extremely expensive.
$4,500 per seat.
Yeah, so there was no Bernie support really in the seats, unless they're just, like, insane.
Yeah.
So.
Well, everyone there is either got like too much money or they are insane because they paid €4,500 for a seat.
I know. Number one fan of the Democratic Party. They had their foam finger and everything, and their oversized mug or their hat with the straws on it. Now, John Hickenlooper's whole, like, for anyone who does not remember, John Hickenlooper had a speech about 2 or 3 weeks ago where he tried to do that same thing again, but in front of a young audience and got booed.
Yeah, whenever he rails against Medicare for All or...
Gets booed.
He also just mentions socialism. Mm-hmm. It's literally the fucking Twitter meme of nobody, silence, John Hickenlooper. Socialism is bad and we need to stop it.
Yeah, and so when Sanders was giving his what I thought was just his stupid democratic socialism speech that he has to give every year because, give the classics.
Yep.
John Hickenlooper just like live tweeted and was just about like Colorado did this program without socialism, and it's like just stop. Like this is like he's clearly not like no one's gravitating towards that and being like, yeah, you're right, Dan. The problem with Bernie Sanders is socialism because whenever people complain about Bernie Sanders, it's normally just like made up qualms that they have that he's sexist or that he's this or he's that.
Well, it's a false analysis of Sanders that like people care about him because of his.
He's just too sexy.
Yeah, basically they view. They think everyone cares about this politician because of the reasons they care about the politicians they like. Yeah. A personality that checks certain boxes, that we like him because he's an old white male, and then completely don't want to confront the fact that like most of AOC's groundswell support came from people who are massive Bernie supporters.
Exactly, and people like AOC are, although she's not endorsed him yet, but was a massive... AOC would not be in the... Like, that's actually... this was my shower thought this morning when I was, taking a shower, is that... Because I knew that we were going to be talking about this today, and I was kind of thinking about, like, I see all these just run-of-the-mill liberals loving AOC, for... identity reasons, not because of any of her policies, and given like AOC balances both sides of the identity politics and class-based politics, which I think in the US can be good. I don't think you have to be a completely a vulgarly Marxist about your things. You can acknowledge, for her, it was like her community is a primarily like Latinx, or African American community. It's not you're not playing a part. Like this is what you grew up with. The experiences. That's fine. That's not what people like Beto O'Rourke do or whatever, which is just cheap shots in order to do that whole thing. She did come from a poor family. She is a woman who grew up in the Bronx. This and that. It worked with her because it also then reinstituted the idea then of class behind all of this. And I think that she's actually been like pretty decent about that. Maybe like her tweets aren't the greatest thing. She's learning, but still all in all, like I like AOC for these reasons because she can bring these two realms together. And liberals don't see that. Liberals just see the identity aspect of it and don't realize that where she came up politically is because of Bernie Sanders. And they just do not want to admit it to themselves because they think that you have to have exactly, like they're going to do the 2016 thing and they're going to lose. That's it.
Well, there's also like, they don't want to acknowledge a lot of aspects of like that. Who else? Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib are all kind of the same ilk as well. Caban, who was just elected, Cynthia Nixon, although she didn't win. These are all people of the like same ilk that fit all these things that are supposedly blotches on Sanders' thing. And then I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it is kind of it is definitely identity as a weapon because they are also ignoring an aspect of Sanders, which is he would be the first Jewish president. He is the son of a Holocaust survivor. He does come from not the poorest background, but like Jews when he was young in New York were either extremely wealthy or extremely poor, and I feel like he was in the latter. He talks about like whenever he goes to coal country, he talks about the fact that he fucking lived off coal. Like he had a furnace in his goddamn apartment that he had to do himself, which I guess is maybe either was normal back then or he was shit poor. Like I don't really know how that works.
He was also like a kid in like the 1910s.
Yeah, that's another aspect of it. But like But he was living in Brooklyn back when that was where all the poor people in New York were shoved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's one. And Bernie doesn't. I mean, now maybe a little bit. Now he's trying to do a slightly different game plan this time around, but it isn't focused around still himself. You know, it's a little bit more about his own personal story, but it's still around that, I think, of a more class-based politics. But I guess we'll talk about that when we talk about Bernie.
So there's two others that I think we can briefly just mention that were there. Michael Bennett.
Don't care.
Yeah, American businessman, get fucked. From Colorado. They're going to be one person from Colorado. Antikin Looper.
Yeah, the king.
And Eric Swalwell Jr., apparently. I didn't know he was a junior. Again, this is kind of like if you ever watched like a straight-to-video movie in the 90s where they had like a stand-in president.
Both of these guys fit the part very well.
Yeah. And then let's talk about the actual people we want to talk about. And I guess since we're already talking about it, Sanders. Yeah. Sanders was there.
King. Still stand Bernie.
Yeah.
He didn't do particularly strong because there wasn't enough time to. He played the
He
classics.
apparently got 11 minutes of airtime.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty standard.
Third highest.
Yeah. Who was the highest? Kamala Harris?
Biden.
Oh, of course.
13 and a half minutes.
That, yeah. Forgot that Joe Biden was on the stage, but we'll get to him because he's a fucking train wreck. Yeah, Bernie played the classics. Didn't really answer the questions all that well. I don't think he really actually cared. I think he kind of knew that this was going to be like what. I'm not actually going to even try to like analyze like what was Bernie thinking, what was going on. It just his answers were the same stuff as always. He did talk about the source of like the U.S.'s quote unquote migration problem, which is that of regime change that happened in like specifically like Honduras and stuff like that. So that was cool. Which then actually was brought up by Williamson, which is cool that she did that. And that was the only thing that was then what you said was different is that then he finally mentioned like military industrial complex this time around.
I feel like he did in his closing statement for this. I watched the closing statements. And I've also noticed him mentioning it more this time around compared to 2016 run, because again, I feel like a criticism of 2016, although I feel like this is the entire Democratic Party, is a lack of foreign policy.
Yeah.
And that is a criticism that I think he's trying to take on, and it's a good one because it is one that's coming from the left. Because the centrists in the United States want no one to talk about foreign policy, basically. Yeah,
and I think that Yemen was the thing that really. I think first off, too, one of the nice things about the Trump presidency is it's been kind of a mask-off moment for most people to then actually realize what U.S. foreign policy looks like. Mm-hmm. Trump's foreign policy, aside from maybe sitting down with Kim Jong-un, is business as usual. Mm-hmm. It's just that now we don't have to convince ourselves that the president's a good person.
Yeah, there's, I guess, like, comparing, like, this ramp up in Iran to Iraq is, like, they put, like, even, no matter how fucking shoddy the Iraq justification was, this one is even fucking shoddier.
Oh, yeah.
They blew up our toy robot. Fucking that and... So
the oil tanker thing?
Yeah, the oil tanker thing with Iran as well. The supposed ramp up that never went anywhere with Venezuela.
There was Trump just gave up on that. He got bored.
He did, yeah. But like, I did not expect the resistance within the United States to that compared to like considering the situation of Venezuela and how many people you encounter who will just be like, Venezuela's bad. We need to like fucking get in there right now. Then I think the only thing that is like weird about Trump is that his comments about how he really personally likes Kim Jong-un is weird, but I do agree with...
But he says that literally to every single person that he meets. That's why I think it's so funny when people are like, can you believe that Donald Trump said that? And like Rob made fun of this too, like a couple of weeks ago. Like when he met Sebastian Kurz, he has no idea who these people are. Kim Jong-un is the only one that he knows, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe he knows who Xi Jinping... He knows who Xi Jinping is because he talked about him so much in the... when he was running for president. But do you think that then when he goes and fucking meets with like... Juan Guaido, that he actually knew who he was.
Probably not.
Or then like, Macron, like he's like, and those two guys love each other.
They're closet authoritarians, both of them.
Yeah,
basically.
So it is like I think that then the stuff that everyone uses is the thing like because they talk about it all the time. Like, can you believe that the president calls Kim Jong-un a good friend? It's like if he met your mom. And your mom, like, was genuinely friendly to him for, like, 2 seconds. He'd be like, oh, this woman.
He'd mention him outside the fucking chopper that he's always talking in front of.
Yeah. You know, like, Donald Trump is just that kind of, like, just a fucking bullshitter. He's going to think that every single person likes him.
Well, it's also very... Not to analyze too much in the psyche of Trump, but like it is very like businessman tactic.
Yeah.
Like you don't like every person you meet who looks like they have a position of power. You don't shit talk them. That you'll need that for deals later.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that's contributed to like this foreign policy awareness thing is probably the everything the giant fucking fumble after fumble that is Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Like. Everyone was real horny for Mohammed bin Salman, and then the Yemen things happen, the Khashoggi murder happens, and all that they really can do to like counter that is that women can drive now, and I hoped that no one would beg the question, why couldn't they before?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, like because that is like a weird thing that now finally people are like. On both sides of the political spectrum are like kind of coming like no one casually just like justifies Saudi Arabia anymore being like well you know like maybe a dictatorship but they're our ally. I think everyone's kind of like yeah they're a horrible country, why are we giving them so much fucking money?
Oh well, I think the problem was and what made a lot of Americans realize that is that some politicians were still doing that. They hadn't got the memo basically, and people were like oh no.
Yeah, so that was cool that Bernie's been doing that. Appreciate that. All in all, though, like, not.
It's going to get more interesting when
there's less people on the stage and he has more because I think that then he's cruising pretty comfortably now. He's not the thing that then I thought was so stupid is that there was an article that came out from Politico like not too long ago actually about like when's Bernie Sanders going to drop out. I was like, fuck off. Like, ask these, like, 10 other people who are polling at 1% to drop out because they're doing, like, do you honestly think...
Without looking at your computer, name all of them now.
Yeah. You know, the only one then who I was not... Who I wanted to see on the stage was Mike Gravel.
Yeah.
But because he didn't fill the I guess, donor...
Yeah, he's still lacking on the donor thing because as far as I know, he's actually, in some polls, polling higher than Cory Booker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like 538 had to recently add him to like they have like an internal ranking system of like a significant candidate. He's now been added to that, which is above like about 12 of the people on this fucking lineup.
Yeah. So I really just am excited to see this list become at least half of it.
Yeah.
Because preferably down to like 6 would be even nicer.
Because I think Sanders does this thing of like making sure that he's not a spoiler candidate, so he doesn't go too negative with other candidates. Like in his closing speech, he literally said, I think everyone watching tonight saw all these people and said they made all good points, which is, you know, very, like, probably the most positive you can be in American political debate, which is mostly pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because he did also, like, not run. He promised, like, in the 2016 Democratic Party, he did, like, no negative ads. That was his whole thing.
Yeah, and he still hasn't done one yet.
Yeah, exactly. And he's going to keep doing that, but he will get more targeted when there's less people on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I'm also wondering is in by whom and with what, because the people who are going to end up at these later stages are fucking monsters.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about one of them next.
So I think we can't mention without mentioning the other. We should probably do like Biden and Kamala Harris kind of together because they had a
little tussle. Yeah. Let's do Kamala Harris first, though.
Okay.
Because Kamala Harris came off. If I was casual onlooker who had no opinions about any of these candidates, I was very, not too concerned about politics, but I don't like Trump. Kamala Harris comes off, in my opinion, as the absolute strongest last night. But if you know her backstory, all of it was complete bullshit. Every single, so like one of the things that she was talking about was like, in my presidency, I won't separate children from their parents. It's like, well, you fucking did that in California. She hates poor people, who then also in the state of California also happen to be, people of color.
Yeah.
So, the amount of people who've been thrown into jail because of just nonsensically stupid drug crimes when she was what's it called? The prosecutor.
Yeah. I think the most egregious one would be the parents who can get punished for their kids skipping school with jail time.
Yeah. She has just a track record of getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm sorry, like, even her dad disowned her practically with it, like, politically.
Has completely disowned her.
Yeah.
Because of her policy. He stated because of her corporate democratic policies.
And she's pretty much even stated, like, after the debates that when it came, like, especially like Medicare for all and like more radical programs like that was just bullshit.
Yeah.
She actually then corrected herself after the debate that she would maintain private health insurance. So you can just that was one thing right there. Although the least important, I think, of all of her other bullshit things that she brought up. I spent every single time that she opened her mouth, I fucking hated her because her actual story. How much she tried, her thing with Joe Biden about how then I guess we can talk about that too. Like, they actually brought up Joe Biden's racism.
She did,
yeah.
And
by doing the I know you're not racist, but you're kind of a racist.
Yeah, but here's all the shit you did. So it's kind of, it was very like, I know your name's not Nick, but did you know the first letter of your name is N and the second letter is I? And then, but it's not to go into too much into the identity politics game, but unfortunately this is like the Democratic debates in 2019. That is kind of how these things work. It is important that she was the one who said this stuff, like that she attacked him for this. Yeah. Like, I think anyone else is probably not going to be ill received.
Oh, I forgot about that. Bill de Blasio kind of did the same thing. It's like, my son's black. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
That was weird.
That was weird. Oh fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was in the other debate.
Yeah. Sorry to throw you off, but
I'm sorry, I was so tired. But yeah. But the thing is, like, I feel like if Sanders had made these comments, not that he goes particularly negative, like, I don't think it would have been well received by fucking Donut Twitter as Kamala Harris doing it. Basically. Oh, yeah. So I think that's important. I think that showed a very interesting dynamic that's going to be around probably until the end of this, because there's, like, the Democratic primary doesn't have to be a two-way race, right? Like, there's nothing, it just happened to be last time or the last couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be like a 4-way or 3-way or 5-way race. So here's my take would be that I feel like a lot of the people in this at the moment who are above 10% are probably going to hold out to the very end.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't see, to be fair, no one within that lower bottom group of people.
Like you said, they're probably gone next week. Like everyone.
Like 2 or 3 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
If they're smart and they want to save money.
Yeah. But I think if Harris continues to, score punches against Biden, who is still, the top runner at the moment.
I see Kamala Harris going very far.
Yeah.
And she is an absolute disaster just waiting to happen.
Oh, for sure.
Because all of her backstory has been brought up by liberal media. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine when then it goes up, if she were to become the candidate for the Democratic Party. Because it's not that she's she doesn't fall into the trap that Elizabeth Warren does. Mm-hmm. She's a pretty good public speaker. She's tough. She can hold her own against Donald Trump.
That's what they prosecute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She can hold her own against Trump. It's just that it's going to be a very hard sell to convince people who already are voting for draconian policies that Kamala Harris is your choice then, because she was more draconian than Trump was.
Yeah.
It is a bad move. It is I at least hope that her shit catches up with her, because she came off really strong for people who don't know about her.
Yeah. Which is the majority of people, mind you. Like, the majority of people don't really have opinions formed on a lot of these guys. But the thing that I find interesting about this dynamic that this showed is that as long as this continues, as long as there is maybe 4 people in the race, they're probably all going to go after fucking Biden rather than Sanders.
No, they're going after Bernie.
I mean, I feel like the media is going after Bernie, but like...
I think Biden's going to drop out earlier.
Yeah?
I don't know. That's just my own personal take because he did so poorly.
He did poorly.
He was like watching... Literally just watching like a senile old man on stage. Like, given Bernie's just as old as him.
Yeah.
But Bernie kept up, and maybe because he's just so fucking pimp. But
I implore people to watch his closing statement. It just spins out.
It spins out, and then it ends on just like the most dated like "God bless America" and "God bless."
Yeah,
the troops.
it's a Raghav train of God bless the troops, twirling towards freedom. So, but it is interesting that like Harris did attack Biden like that because I agree with you. I think the media has got it out for Bernie. I don't think they're going to be particularly charitable towards him. But I think, especially if they're candidates who are going to position themselves as somewhat like Biden's riding high on the fact that he was the vice president under Obama, who is seen positively.
Yeah.
Beto is trying to be Latinx Obama, even though he's not Latinx.
Beto O'Rourke looked like he did not sleep in a month.
I know, yeah.
And also, shout out to my mom for actually giving me a good joke about that. So my mom messaged me of like, why is he not standing on his podium? And I was like, that's good. Like, did not get a boomer joke from her. Like, that was solid.
Props to Nick's mom. But then, like, also... Yeah, I just feel like in the minds of people like Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, and Beto O'Rourke, Biden is the one standing in their way. Because you're basically... You're not going to, like... Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders maybe occupy the same space, but they're occupying a different thing, and I feel like they're going to be the ones who are like, he's in the way of me, kind of thing. So, I mean,
the thing of the matter is that after last night, the thing of the matter is though that after last night, I think that Biden, not last night, the night before, I think Biden did so horrible that he's going to be asked to step down by the party because he answered every question with Barack Obama is my friend. Yeah, this is why I should be president, and the moderator grilled him. Like, the fucking moderator, the first thing that then Joe Biden was asked was about, there was a question about migration, and he was just like, well, Barack Obama and I, we handled this problem so well, and, we just have to keep doing that again. And the moderator was like, that your administration deported over 3 million people. And it's just like, you just got dunked on by the moderator. Yeah, like, come on. And he like, everyone knew that was going to come. Like, I'm just like, the moderator is going to bring up the 3 million people deported under Obama. Yeah. And Joe Biden just stammered like, fucking fish out of water and just waited for his time to be up. And that was the way it was the entire night. Was it like, did you know that my best friend is the former president Barack Obama? Yeah. And we had a plan about this and we did this and this and this. And it's like, that's who was his only response all night long. And then was asked after the debate about the busing question and stammered. Just nonsensically until he had enough room to like walk away from the moderator who was asking him.
It's really, I just wonder. So here's my thought of the future. Basically, is that, like I said, the candidates who are trying to fill the space that Biden is filling, Kamala Harris included. I'm going to say Harris, Buttigieg, and O'Rourke. Those are the ones who are above 10%. Who I think are in this space.
We can talk about Pete Buttigieg.
We haven't yet. We will. Okay. But I think this is the other difference between Biden and Sanders. Biden, if you actually look at it, has a woeful track record.
Horrible.
Yeah.
The worst of anyone on that stage, except for maybe I'd put Kamala Harris up to that. But that's even iffy because...
But he's been around longer.
He's been around longer and has been just openly racist, too.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So here's my take, is after seeing what Harris did, I think they're going to crypt the style sheet, and Kamala Harris is going to go after him for desegregation stuff. Beto O'Rourke will probably go after him for anything to do with deportations and the border, because he's from border region of Mexico, and that's where the Democratic support is in that country, is please stop getting rid of all my Mexican friends. Please stop getting rid of me. Then I don't know too much about this, but Buttigieg could probably go into anything homophobic he's done in his past. Like, and this is all stuff that would play well with Donut Twitter. And but
I see Biden getting demolished, and I think that the way, like, I do see it being a collective effort of these three people, because Biden has to go away. In order for there to be an actual debate about anything, you can't have this fossil of the Democratic Party.
Nothing will substantially change.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that you just have a fossil of the Democratic Party when they were just openly racist, just like walking around the fucking halls. Given the Democratic Party is a god-awful institution, but the only person on that stage who had no business being there, I would say even less than people like Andrew Yang and what, just simply because the time frame of where we are right now, is Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Because the way the Democratic Party is organized is this bizarre, hyper-centralized monstrosity that does not seem to understand anything that's going on outside of their bubble. And they think that, well, Biden's a little bit racist, so he'll win over Trump support.
Yeah.
You know, or he'll win over the white suburbans who aren't.
He's got like the
small business owners or whatever.
Yeah, he's got like a chauvinist thing going on.
Yeah.
That appeals to they think will appeal to a certain section of the population.
And I mean, anyone can bring up just the fact of his bizarre molestery fucking ways.
Yeah, that seems to have just been expunged from the record. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, again, that's something that Kamala Harris, as a woman, could very much attack him on. The thing is, like, so that's basically the two tracks of this party at the moment, is that, like, Remember Obama track of Buttigieg, Harris, Biden, and Beto O'Rourke, who are all imploring that in a different way, but they're all imploring it. And then you have the, like, we're actually progressive Warren and Sanders thing, but those two people are both too nice that they're not going to go after each other. So,
yeah, I think one of them will just fold into the other.
Yeah,
and I do hope that it's Warren folding into Sanders.
Yeah,
because I do think that they could have. I think that it.
He leads Warren by like 10 points over her. So
yeah, he leads by pretty much everyone except for Biden. And then when Biden goes away, that support will just like dwindle into.
It will. According to the numbers that are to be believed, it will dwindle into Sanders, because the second most supported candidate amongst Biden supporters is Sanders.
Oh, that's funny.
It's really
so
weird.
Then they're going to probably just keep Biden in the race for as long as they can. Then actually, in order to avoid that, because then Sanders becomes easily the nominee then, because that puts Sanders at like 40% then.
I think it'd be interesting though, because if he keeps getting dunked on, unless the people dunking on him are so charismatic in their dunking.
That's the thing too, no one here is charismatic.
Yeah. But this is the thing. Yeah, none of them are. Buttigieg, I think, disappointed all the Buttigieg fans.
Oh God, we haven't even gotten to him because I forgot about him.
Yeah, but I think there's this weird thing of like, we'll have to see basically if Biden keeps performing poorly, and if the other like Obama light people try to keep attacking him, it's about where that support goes. Because like I said, Sanders is the second preferred amongst him. They could switch to Sanders immediately, or they could be swayed by the dunking to go to them. But I don't know about that.
Yeah. So Pete Buttigieg
was there.
I saw the greatest tweet about him the other day, is that Pete Buttigieg is if the Bank of America Pride float was a person.
Yeah.
And that's the vibe that I got from him. He's not for anything progressive.
No. He
is literally, I think, just that Obama light. Remember Obama? He was a president. He wasn't as bad as Trump.
He's capitalizing on the Obama was elected because he was black thing, so how about electing me because I am gay? There is a little bit of that. Buttigieg is probably one of the least qualified people on here that is a polling above 10%. He's a mayor of a very, very small town.
And it's a town that doesn't like him.
A town that doesn't like him. Black Lives Matters fucking hates him because of all this shit where he did not let these police go. Wait, now hang on, let me see if I can remember this correctly. There is footage that was caught of white cops in South Bend, Indiana, basically using the N-word flippantly, that was recorded by a black cop, and this footage was presented to the mayor, and the black cop was the one who was let go, the one who brought the footage to the public.
Cool, thanks, Pete.
Yeah. So
there was a recent shooting too from a police officer, a white police officer against a black teen. who, his body cam just happened not to be on.
Oh, yeah.
And so the police officer said that the kid had a knife.
Not to backtrack a little bit, but I did see that tweet that I love so much where like someone was being like, oh man, Kamala Harris like destroyed Biden, and someone was like, what happened? And then someone underwent underneath, I don't know, Kamala Harris turned off her body cam.
Oh God, yeah, but that happened in Indiana, in South Bend, and so there's an awesome clip of Pete Buttigieg trying to console a predominantly black audience who's mourning, and they do not want him there.
Yeah.
And they yell at him about how like they don't want to be used as an election ploy. And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not here to garnish vote. I'm not here to get your vote." And this woman just responds, "Yeah, you sure as hell aren't getting it."
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's really not liked there. He's particularly not liked by, and they actually critiqued him on that. That a quarter of the population of South Bend is black, and the police force is very much predominantly white, like 93% white. Not that I think that then making your police force more like your area does actually anything because of how the police are as a thing. But his response was the dumbest thing I saw. I was like, oh yeah, we're trying to fix this. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, that people are going to find out about how bad you are, especially like in like race relations in your home state, and you're going to fucking plummet in the polls. And I cannot wait for that day to happen.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like Harris could attack him on that. I just keep coming back to after Harris doing this, like hearing about that, because I didn't watch this and I then watched the clip of this happening, is like, for me, it just really feels like the whole dynamic is going to be changed. It seems like a certain wing of this is going to cannibalize itself, basically, by just attacking each other for all of them not having decent records. Yeah. Basically.
I mean, the only one who has a decent record is Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, like, but also the whole Warren used to be a Republican thing, while sends off alarm bells for us, I don't think is going to like be a big fiery debate thing. No, like if
it won't be like the Warren stuff won't be a problem until if she actually clinches the nomination.
Yes,
and then like I said, Warren is finished. Warren is not like the thing that like if you could combine the delivery of stuff with that Kamala Harris's delivery with Elizabeth Warren's policies, you would have an unbeatable candidate that then would fit all the criteria of what the mainstream liberals in the United States want to vote for.
Yeah.
The reality of it is that candidate already exists. It's Bernie. But they're going to, go, tooth and nail against him for, whatever reasons that he is, because he's an outsider. He's not really a Democrat. He's a socialist, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, but that candidate doesn't exist. So, I mean, in terms of what the party wants. So we'll see how it happens. That's everyone except for
Williamson.
Orb Queen.
Yes.
How we have been blessed.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Gaia has sent us
herself
in the form of a wonderful suburban white woman.
Can I read some of her tweets before we go on?
Oh God, please do.
Yeah. All right. So 23rd of July 2018. Terrible wildfires burning in Sweden. Let's all pray for / visualize massive rain there. Parentheses. The mind is that powerful. Full stop. Close parentheses. Bringing it back to Europe. I'm sorry. I just had to mention that one. Okay.
I'm controlling my breathing.
Yeah.
Trying to get myself centered.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing about, bringing the rains down on Sweden.
Going back a bit.
Okay.
17th of April 2011.
Wait. I have to reach my center again.
Yeah.
Okay.
When enough minds are vibrating at a high enough level, then all lower thought forms will fall of their own dead weight.
Yes.
Cut the tall trees.
Cut down the tall tree.
That's like weird. That just really strikes me as like some sort of weird spiritual fascism call to arms.
Yeah. Oh my God. She was an absolute treat. Like,
hang on. One last tweet.
All right. Wait. Hold on.
Our all-time favorite. 13th of April, 2009.
Yes.
Going in for the deep cuts. God is big, all caps. Swine flu, small, all caps.
Yes.
See every cell of your body filled with divine light. Pour God's love on our immune systems. Truth protects. My favorite part of this tweet is after swine flu small, there's 2 spaces. 1, 2.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. She is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I really like if she was not running for president, which for some reason she is, because, you know, what has been gifted to us? Why do we deserve this?
1% in the polls. And I want to remind everyone, 3% margin of error, so she probably has 4%.
Because of Gaia.
Yeah, it's because of Gaia.
Yeah, holy shit. Her closing statement was the coolest thing the entire night. I saw people putting Twin Peaks music to it. It was perfect. Yeah, I'm currently, you know, harnessing all my crystals. I have them lying out on the table, you know, making sure that they will harness enough love to oust out the fear that Donald Trump has been conjuring. Yeah, she was cool. I have nothing else to say. I was in awe every single time that she opened her mouth.
Yeah.
She even had something about how, like, John F. Kennedy had a dream to send someone to the moon.
Yep.
It was so cool.
That's definitely the person I think of in American politics who said, I have a dream.
Yeah, it was. To be fair, she actually brought up good things. She brought up good things about, you know, she is for Medicare for all. She is against. She's actually the one who brought up, you know, who started talking about how atrocious U.S. foreign policy is. Actually, the discussion about U.S. foreign policy, you know, started because she brought up about. She's like, we haven't talked about this yet. So she's kooky as all hell.
Yeah.
I really don't like the irony support that she's getting right now from the left. I think that is it just is stupid because I don't know. It just kind of sits with me wrong. Like, yeah, it's funny, but then I don't know. Like, I see this with the whole, like, you know, weird Twitter left thing or whatever. But yeah, like, I mean, she did bring up good stuff, but in the end, she's not a serious candidate.
No.
She's far too esoteric. She's also an anti-vaxxer. Like, that you can't have that as a...
No,
you know?
yeah, it's weird.
And someone... I saw someone mention that then she is the... What everyone thought that Jill Stein was is what she actually is.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because I remember the, like, takedowns of Jill Stein. I remember how very... there was a lot of reaching into her past to really do that.
And, like, completely misquoting it, though.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, like, past as in her college years kind of stuff, not, like, her political past.
Yeah.
Like... one of the fucking last week tonight's hot take was that she did like she was in a reggae album. She did a reggae album she made in college where she did vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it was built, but it was building that image of like hippy dippy.
No,
nonsense.
yeah, but the problem of it is that Jill Stein in the 2016 election, although not going to get has any chance whatsoever, had the most radical left wing platform by far.
Yeah,
there's no even you know Bernie Sanders has not even remotely come close to how radical the Green Party's platform was, and a pretty realistic platform too, mind you. Everyone was trying to like brand her as an anti-vaxxer and stuff like that, where she was quoted saying that then like people in the U.S. are like there are like too many vaccines, which I would argue is probably not that false of a statement.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. you're vaccinated for fucking everything compared to Europe or you know the rest of the world where it's like you get your necessities and not like you know every imaginable thing or whatever. It wasn't that she was saying that then that you're gonna get autism or whatever. Unlike, you know, Marianne Williamson, or literally sounds like she's starring in a movie with Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah. Listen, Mr. President, if you are listening.
Mr. President, if you are listening.
If you are.
Yeah. Again, it's cool, but not serious, and she's like a little bit too out there. But
yeah.
I really don't like in the sense of how she's being jokingly taken seriously by people, and then how people are then trying to be like, oh yeah, like this is like, trying to compare it to Jill Stein, because that was
an unfair depiction of Jill Stein.
It was Jill Stein's fault for trying to, like, not her fault, but I mean, Jill Stein wasn't going to push the rhetoric left wing. No. She tried to make herself as she did not spoil the election, to be fair, because Hillary Clinton won the election by 3 million votes. Mm-hmm. So it's just the U.S. is fucking dumb. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like, I think that then if Jill Stein had engaged herself within the process of a post-Trump election thing better, could have, I don't know. I find that also too, it's also just a bunch of like suburban women who hate her too much for something that she's not responsible for, because Hillary Clinton didn't campaign well. Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing about why she's getting support from the left, or at least like Twitter left, and like somewhat in jest, I don't think this has actually affected her polls.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I don't think I think anyone on Twitter left who gets like cold call surveys is probably going to say Sanders or Warren, maybe, if they're of that ilk. But her, like, a lot of her policies, other than the vaccination thing, is pretty in line with like Warren Sanders. Medicare for all, $15 per hour minimum wage. Green New Deal is another one. Mm-hmm. And the one that I remember hearing about this, I remember thinking this is pretty cool, but she's actually driven the conversation on reparations for slavery. She originally put forward the idea of $100 billion US being distributed over 10 years, which she said would be distributed by a group of black leaders selected for economic and education projects, basically. And apparently has since then raised that to somewhere where she says the more appropriate figure would be somewhere between $200 to $500 billion US. And the knock-on effect of this, though, is...
I mean, the reparations thing is a weird one, because depending on then what the perspective is that it comes from, is just like something that social programs and infrastructure programs themselves can do. Mm-hmm. So when it's done that way, I find it kind of weird, because why not just do it as an entire project itself then, that then is just targeting then like all areas?
I think there's an argument to be made that you can do both, that like you raise up the entire country, but there's possibly arguments for predominantly black areas needing it more correct the historical. They would be
still in the same project then. That's what it seems like.
So I think it's more just like,
I don't know. I always get the feeling that then reparations is kind of like always the wrong question to be asking during the election, because yes, it is an issue. That is not a question. It's been an issue for 150 fucking years. Yeah. Was originally planned to happen. Yeah. Never did, because the Reconstruction never actually really happened in the South. I find it always very weird when it's just white politicians are the ones that then are bringing it up, especially on the national stage, given, yes, the black community has been actively going for it, but I always kind of again with Beto O'Rourke and Cory Booker trying to speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. I do find it as pandering, and yes, it is an issue. I think that then within the communities that then, especially like Flint and stuff like that, who are affected, the primarily like poor black communities in the United States, would be much more attracted to a policy that then takes on, how race, class, and all this stuff combines it, not just like a, hey, vote for me, I'll give you money, which is kind of problematic, I would say. At least that's the way that I see it. I don't know. Like, I'm not, black in the United States. So.
I think there's a way in which reparations for slavery... First of all, I don't really like the conversation being exclusively reparations for slavery, because I also think you need to include reparations for Native Americans, which wouldn't be called slavery, but it would be a form of reparations.
And that's never addressed in these
never
policies.
Addressed. Reparations for
There's actually a good article from Jacobin that's kind of about how how the reparations discussion is not the discussion that needs to be had. It should be about then, general overhaul, social programs and stuff like that. How that will affect more people than just handing money out. And I think that's the argument that should always be made.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for saying that you can make reparations like how would you call it? Like you introduce this like social security program US wide that helps the poorest in society, but there can be like a tack onto that of a reparations program, which is just saying give more money for this program in this area. Yeah. And also there's also these things of like, I think reparations for Native Americans works better because of the whole, they are effectively have like a certain level of sovereignty in areas. So just give the like ruling council of that this huge injection of cash, basically, because a lot of these areas are just...
the reservations are really, 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 really weird.
Yeah, they are. I don't really know enough about it, but there is something to be said of like, it's hard. It's really...
Well, the U.S. government tried to do something like that with that you could get, like, so you get free healthcare and you get free college if you live on the reservation. So if you're Native American, but you don't live on the reservation, which is very understandable why no one wants to live on the reservation, because some of them are, whenever you drive, like if you ever go like, north through Arizona and the Grand Canyon and stuff like that, it's a very weird experience of like seeing then how these like communities are built and stuff like that. Yeah. And they are purposely kept in the worst conditions that they can be by, the government, obviously, and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, how that would then, how that would be distributed. But yeah, so they use this program as a cop out, more or less. Yeah. So you have to stay, on your land, aka like in your apartheid area, more or less thing. But then you can then benefit from the programs when you get sick, or when you get when you want to go to school and whatnot. But then access to these things, access is the big question. Where's a hospital on the reservation? Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Basically, in general, maybe it's not a cash program, but there is something to be said for a corrective measure for the historical abuse. Yeah. But
we do not have these answers.
We do not. Yeah. But in general, what's most interesting about Williamson is she was the first person to like really talk about this. So whether we disagree on how it should be implemented, she's the only one talking about like reparations in general. And through that, and talking about it on the Breakfast Club, which you informed me about, she's apparently pushed it so that both Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris have adopted a reparations plan. I'd imagine Kamala Harris's is particularly weak or not well thought out, but I'd imagine Elizabeth Warren's one is probably aggressively thought out.
Yeah. I just like back to the Kamala Harris thing. Anything that she has a quote unquote plan for, I can't take any of it seriously, because I know, like again, like the quote that she had immediately after the thing is that it's an entire front. Yeah, it is not real. But yeah, like that is the whole debate. I think we went through everyone, didn't we?
We did, and I think that is important to remember. How do we relate this back to Europe? Is that one of these fuckers could be in charge of the USA in a couple of years, and that's the country that's effectively in charge of all of Europe. So
yay! Our overlords.
Our beautiful, beautiful overlord. Finally, a European in the seat. Pete Buttigieg, who is Maltese, I think.
Yeah. His dad was like a Marxist scholar or something?
No, that's Kamala Harris.
No.
Oh, him as well?
Too, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
His dad started the Antonio Gramsci Foundation.
Sick.
Yeah.
I love me some Euro communism.
Yeah. Oh God. How their kids fucked up.
Well, this is them rebelling, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Dad, fuck internationalism. I'm joining the U.S. military.
I'm a corporate dem now.
So yeah. Sorry that we didn't talk about Europe. No. That we gave you this very nice spiritual experience. Yeah. But we'll see you guys next week then.
Yeah.
So take care.
Ciao, ciao.